Hello there. Alrighty. So I am Carol Crafty Grandma, and this is part 2 of the Quilted Travel Tote. I am using a pattern called 10 Pocket Travel Tote. It is by I Always Pick the Thimble, and it was a free pattern that I got on Pinterest. So that's where I found this. She did a nice job with the directions. I really liked the way she laid everything out. And I have already made 2 of these. Neither of them are working correctly. The handles are coming out. So there is no secondary attachment for the handles, and we are going to change that with this particular version of the travel tote. In the first version, and I'd show them to you, but I have a kitty cat sleeping on both of them right now. And if you look at part 1, actually one of them was on the thumbnail for this video, so you'll see it there. The first one I made was all cotton and just a limited amount of interfacing, so it's kind of loose. The second one I made out of canvas, waterproof canvas on the exterior, and so that's a little stiffer. It's got a little more body to it. This one, what I'm doing, I am using quilted fabric. So I'm creating my own quilted fabric. I recently came into a bunch of jelly rolls, and I don't normally use jelly rolls. They're not something... Jelly rolls and charm packs are cool. They're nice because they're small. They're readily available. You've got lots of different fabrics that already match and all that good stuff. My problem is their size. Even though I make small items, and when I make quilts, I make like table runners, wall hangings, things like that. I still like to be able to have the ability to make larger squares or whatever. So they're just not something I typically would have purchased. It's not an item that I go around. I purchase yards of fabric, which can be 10 times more expensive, but hey, it gives me some fun. So when I came into these jelly rolls, I'm like, what am I going to do? How am I going to use them? So on and so forth. So I did find a pattern to create a jacket using jelly rolls, which is going to be my next project. And I'm probably going to use the same jelly rolls, which means my jacket and my tote bag are going to match. They're going to coordinate. They won't match because we're not going to have any of the same fabric left, but the fabric is going to coordinate. But so I decided that I'd make one of these tote bags because I knew what I wanted to do to fix the issue with the handle coming apart. So I decided I was going to make a quilted bag. So in part 1, oh, kitty cat's no longer on the bags. Here they are. So here they are. This one's all cotton. And then this one, like I said, has the waterproof canvas on it. But here's the handle coming out of that one. And this one, it's just not connected at all. Like I said, I'm gonna fix that. And I also made wallets to go along with these, and I mentioned this in part 1, and I will probably be doing some type of wallet also with the jelly rolls for this. These bags are wonderful. They're a nice size. They carry a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of pockets inside of them, so you can put things in the zipper, you can put it in all sorts of different locations. The problem was there was nowhere to put your cards and your cash that they didn't get lost. So I don't carry a lot of cash, but when I do, I need to be able to find it. So that's why I made the wallet, and I really like the wallets, and I will probably be doing a video on making fabric like this and then using it on the wallet. Same concept, just smaller size. And then, like I said, the jacket. So I guess we're going to end up probably with 3 things that'll all coordinate together, so it'll be like a set to go out in. Anyway, so I already went through in part 1 all the details and talked through how to make this. So what we're going to do now is, in order to make this somewhat quicker, because it took me an entire episode to make just this one piece of fabric, I am just going to kind of whip through this a little faster. And then once we get the second of these done, we have to make what's called a utility pocket. And then we're going to need to cut out the fabric for the lining and the zipper. She actually breaks it down. There's a tote outside, which you need a half a yard for if you're just using basic fabric. There is a utility pocket, which in all pictures that I've seen, even by her other testers, which isn't on here, but it was on the link, everybody did the utility pocket the same fabric as the exterior, outside, calls it outside. Then there's a lining, a zipper pouch, and a zipper pouch accessory pocket. Those 3 items all go together, and in the other bags that I made them out of the same fabric. I was originally going with white, so if you watched part 1, I said I was just going to use this basic white Kona cotton basic stuff as my interior. But as I was looking in my stuff, my stash, I found this fabric, which doesn't have either of these colors in it, but they kind of go together a little bit. And I'm wondering if I'm not going to use those instead. I also have an aqua down there that I'm thinking about. None of which really goes with this color, but it's going to be on the inside. And I'm thinking it might be fun to have something totally different on the inside. So either way, we're going to have to cut out our lining, whether it's out of the white or this, depending upon how my brain goes. Because I pulled that out yesterday, and I keep thinking about it, but I just can't decide. It's definitely out of my comfort zone. The total inside needs 1.5 yards, and I don't... I have enough of this to just do this as the only thing on the inside. And that's probably the route I'll take. But I just don't know. I kind of like having the solid... I'm not used to having a pattern as the inside, but it's a small pattern, so it might work. But anyway, all right. So we're going to get started. This is going to be kind of quick in the sense that I'm just going to sew, press, cut, sew, press, cut, quilt. That's kind of where we're going. All right, let's get started. All right, to the sewing machine we go. Why is the sewing machine not on? All righty, something's wrong. Let's see, why is the sewing machine not on? I forgot to push the button. That explains it. I thought I had. Apparently not. Okay, so we ended yesterday using our walking foot. We're going to take the walking foot off because we don't need it. Actually, you know what? It's not going to hurt anything. Let's just leave it on. So my walking foot, my 1/4 inch, it's just like my 1/4 inch piecing foot. It's just on the edge there. And leaving the walking foot on is not going to hurt anything. Some people use their walking foot all the time. So the first thing I need to do is piece number 1 and piece number 2. Whoa! Let's not get these falling down because that would be bad. You can't see what I'm doing. Let's see. There we go. That's a better angle. Okay. All right. Piece 1 and 2. And I cannot remember if I dropped my stitch length yesterday. I'm not going to worry about it. Piece number 3. This is always my most challenging part, making sure that I do not attach 3 to 1, but 3 to 2. That was convenient. It waited until the end of the strip to run out of thread in the bobbin. That's always a better idea, because otherwise I have to deal with trying to get it to go longer. Come on. Oh! I thought I stuck that all the way on there. Apparently I didn't. There we go. On to the next strip. Strip. Getting there. Whoa. Okay, last strip. Voila. Now the boring part is pressing. Yep, it's not hot. Let it warm up. Kitty cat running around. I don't know if you can hear the bells jingling, but that's what that is. That is a fired up kitty cat running around. We talked about this in part 1, why I press closed first and then press open. Loosens up all the strands of fabric and the thread that you just did the sewing on. And that way, when you press it, it all agrees to press the direction you want it to. Gives a sharper press. Because we like everything to be nice and sharp in quilting. almost pressed. Then we have to cut. Then we have to sew again, press again, cut again. So we can get this into the correct size rectangle that we want. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to switch over to this camera. Give y'all a better view. Okay, 45-degree angles. This is our top, so that has to be up there. 45-degree angle on our ruler. Get it to the tip over there, keeping everybody straight. Go. That needs to go on the second one if I remember correctly. Down the middle, which was just, oh, this looks longer. It does appear it is longer. Wow, I wonder why. All right, 13, that would be 7. Are you long enough to cut? Barely. All right. All right, so 6.5-ish inches. All right, let's see if I can pull this off. There we go. Now we have to sew it together this way. And something I do think I forgot to mention yesterday was when you're sewing this seam, you're sewing on the bias, so your fabric is a lot more stretchy. You need to be careful not to stretch the fabric as you're sewing, otherwise you'll get wrinkles in your final item. All right, pressing time. And now this is the fabric that was on the bottom, so it's matching up to the fabric that was on the top. Yep, that's the way I want it to go. And then we do the same thing over here. To the sewing machine. more pressing. Got too close. There we go. There we go. All right, cutting. And I am going to cut this 22 by 18 and a half-ish because I want to give it some room, and I'm going to do the actual final cut after I quilt it. All right. So, needs to be 20 inches across and 16 and a half inches high. Well, and like I said, I'm going to do 18 and a half. First thing I want to do is down here at the tip that you can't see. There we go. Down here at the tip of this, I want to cut it out a 1/4 inch out because we are going to hopefully have our points match, which are going to be under the bag, and no one but me is going to see it, but it makes me happy. So let's do that first. Let's go that way. Line it up. Well, that's not where the tip's supposed to be. I overlapped improperly. All right, so this one is supposed to go under that one. The other rectangle just worked out perfectly. I apparently measured better. still a little off, but okay. So 1/4 inch lined up on the seam, so we're square. All right. The other sides are going to be cut off anyway, so I don't need to worry about how far down, because this ruler is 23 inches long and it's only going to be 22 inches wide when we're done. But, all right, so there's that. Now, I do not have something that's 16.5 inches, which we talked about in the other part, so I have to line this up. Actually, sorry, doing it backwards. I'm only going to cut it 18 because that's the width of my cutting board right now. So that's where we're going to go. Instead of 18.5, I'm just going to go with 18. Got everybody all lined up over here. These do not want to stay the way I want them to stay. You're getting a pin, whether you like it or not. All right, you guys stay the way I want you to. We got a lot of extra threads sticking around there. All right, and then over here, we're going to cut off at 18 inches. And again, finished size is 16.5, so we're doing 18 just to give ourselves some playroom when we quilt. All right. And now I need to do 10 inches, no, 11, both directions. That's gonna work, not really, kinda. I guess I could do 10.5. Let's just do 10.5. That still gives me room to play. So as I'm looking at the leftovers, I probably could use them as my wallet, but I don't think so. So now we go back to the ironing board. Get a piece of batting that is about the right size. Let's see here. That way. not want to sit on here, do you? Come on. Get you all smoothed out. All right, let's try this. There we go. Just needed a little heat. Alrighty. It seems to be nice and straight and tight. Back to the sewing machine we go for a little stitch in the ditch. I did increase the stitch length a little bit on the other one. So for consistency's sake, okay, and now this side. Okay. Straight and square. Now I'm making sure it's only 1/4 of an inch from the tip of our V down. This way and line it up nice and straight, and then go to the 16.5 inch mark on our board. We're going to trim nice and square. Last but not least, line it up on the other side and go right to 20. All right, that still took us probably an hour, even without me talking. So not a real quick process to make your own fabric, but it gives you exactly what you want. So if you're looking for specific fabric and you can't find exactly what you want, this is how you do it. You can make your own. So now on the inside of the bag, I'm going to have this fabric that we talked about. And here, let me do this. So you can see it has green, yellow, pink, and then like a tan color. And I'm leaning towards, because I need to make the utility pocket, and I'm leaning towards something like this. And now in this case it needs to be 20 inches wide, and let's look. This fabric from here to here is 21 inches, right? That's what I just looked at. Yes. Yes, it's 21 inches halfway. So I need 5 strips because these are 2.5 inches wide. 1, 2, actually they're 2.5. Yeah. 2.5 inches wide. And I need the piece of fabric that I'm creating to be my utility pocket, 2 pieces of fabric that are 20 inches wide by 8 inches high. So, here's 2 pieces. And how do they look with that? This I think is bland enough that it could pull anything. So there's green in here that it's pulling the green from. It's Does one of these have a little yellow? That's like a fire. I think those two pieces together are too much. Here we go. That still blends the green in, so it won't look too silly in there together. And at this point I have 2, 4, 6, 8. I need something else. Something else. So if I have this be my utility pocket, All right, let's get these out of the way. Let's change this to that on the outside, and that on the inside. And then using that as our binding. Let's see. It's definitely a contrast. The only orange is in my main fabric that I picked, which actually might work out well, that this will pull the orange out of that. All right. That's what we're going to do. So now we need to do another strip join. And it's just going to be these 5 strips. Okay, pressing time. So I am not going to be doing the V shape with this fabric. This is the pocket that's going to be on the inside of the bag. So I'm not going to mess with all the little detail like that. And it's supposed to be 8 inches tall, cut to 8 inches tall, which should be 4 of these jelly roll strips, because the jelly roll strips start at 2.5 inches wide, and once you sew them using a 1/4 inch seam, they will then end up being 2 inches wide when sewn. I put 5 strips together because I want to give myself some leeway, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, after I quilt this, which I'm just going to do the stitch in the ditch again, but on the seams, so straight across. After I do that, I'm going to give a little bit on the top purple and a little bit on the bottom purple, depending, which way it goes. So that we have just a little bit of contrast between the strips, because these are the 3 that I like the best. These 2 I liked, and I love having this in the middle. So these are the strips that I really want to accent, but I needed something to contrast so it wasn't all just bright orange staring at you. And again, this is going to be on the inside of the bag. It's not going to be something everyone's going to see, but whoever uses the bag will see it whenever they get into it. So I want to make sure that it still looks nice, even though it's not something that everyone will see. But it'll be a nice accent piece in the bag. All right, now we need to get some batting. There you are. Okay. And we only need it to be 40 inches wide. But and 8 inches high. That's not going to work. It's 22. Nope, not tall enough. But it's wide enough, so maybe we'll do that. All right, let's see here. There's one piece. We're going to end up cutting this anyway. Ooh, actually, this might work. No, it's still not going to be wide enough. Nope, but it'll still work. Okay. And that goes a lot further than the end. Okay. Let's flip you over. So here's what I'm doing. I'm butting up the seams a little bit. Not completely. But I'm using straight edges. And that way I can sew and have them get out of the way. Okay. So this first seam, stitch in the ditch technically, is going to be the most important to join together the two pieces of batting, or so that they don't, the second one doesn't run away from me. And I could have done the iron trick where I ironed on the fabric onto the batting. But I think we should be fine. We're not doing any fancy shapes. We're just going straight this time. All right, and that's where the second piece comes in. go. Quilted fabric. Now we need to make it 20 inches wide by 8 inches high. All right. So first we trim. So line up on a seam, get the spot where we have fabric and batting, and trim it off. So now we have a straight edge. Woohoo! And it needs to be 20 inches long. Now we line up our straight edge. With 20 inches, which you can't see. There we go. All right, so we're on 20 inches. We make sure the edge is straight, and we use one of our seams to continue to make sure that we're straight. And we're not at all. Let's see here. There we go. All right, that's better. We butt up a little ruler. All right, so we are 20 inches wide. That's the first thing we needed. And now we're going to do the same thing. I don't know if we got enough. This might be a problem. I cut off too much. All right, let's see. How can we fix this? The biggest problem is going to be this part right here, but it's going to match up with that piece, so we should be fine. And we're just going to cut the batting. Okay. And this is going to be the seam area anyway, so that will work. It's got just enough for the seam. This area doesn't have batting, which isn't going to be a major deal because we are going to join these two together, so it won't be noticeable. All right, now how wide is this? This ended up being just over 10 inches wide, and we need it to be 8, so we need to get rid of 2 inches total. So let's get rid of 1 inch per side, and it should be, let's see, so we are, this side is 1, 2, and then the extras for the seam. Let's go this way. There we go. That's a good idea. Oh, sorry. Get back in focus. There we go. I am going to go 1 inch off the seam. There we go. Turn it around. Go from here. And I probably should have measured that to be 8 inches, but let's see. Actually, it's a little over 8 inches. It is 8.5 inches. So I need to take a 1/4 inch off of each side. That, and then just to make sure we're exactly 8 inches this time. No, leave that the way it was. Line it up, and then line it up on the 8-inch mark on the board. There we go. All right. And this is letter P. To trim this one down. Yeah, there's that. Nope, don't turn it. Did that same thing with the last piece. Line it up on the line, and then the line for 8 inches. Well, that's not right. There's 8 inches. That's what happens when you have 2 8s on the ruler, or on the table, the mat. That's better. Okay. So now we've made all of our fabric. This is going to be the inside pocket. These are going to be the exterior fabrics. All right, let's see. So let me put a little check mark on that piece. Now, if you have regular fabric, you're not doing this, it says that you can cut one piece that's 20 inches wide by 15.5 inches high. The reason it says that is if you have non-directional fabric, so if you're just using like the plain fabric or even the stuff I'm planning on using, it doesn't have an up or a down. Therefore, you can cut it to 15.5 inches long. You're going to fold it in half later on. In my case, I'm going to be attaching these two pieces together to make one piece and then folding them over. But, okay. I'm supposed to use interfacing on the exterior fabric. I'm still going around in my mind about that, so I'm not going to cut that. The next piece of fabric that I need to cut is the tote lining fabric. And there's two options here also. So just like the pocket fabric that I talked about, there are two options for the lining fabric. You can either cut one piece that's 20 inches wide by 32 inches high, or you can cut two pieces that are 20 inches wide by 16.5 inches high. I have a non-directional fabric, so I am going with the 20 by 32. And this may be the only piece of fabric we get cut today. right, so the first thing I need to do is find out where it's already lined up pretty well. But so I'm going to do 32 inches salvage to salvage because it's 42 inches. So I want to use up as much as, I try and waste as little fabric as possible. So the 32 inches is going to go that way, which means this way is the 20 inches. So I take my little scissors, and at 20 inches, I've got this fabric torn on one side. So I'm going to cut it at 20.5 inches. I'm not going to go too far overboard. If I hadn't ever torn the fabric, if I was working from a piece of fabric that hadn't been torn, I'd give myself 2 inches. But because I have torn fabric already, I'm comfortable with the fact that I should be able to tear this, and we should get a full 20.5 inches out of it after I press it. There we go. Little strands trying to be difficult. Get them out of the way. All right, so now we have a piece of fabric that is 20.5 inches wide. I'm going to press it to get out all of our little seams and stuff so that I can get a nice straight piece of fabric. Extra threads that are trying to escape out of here. It's a nice tightly woven fabric. Not certain where I got it, when I got it. Never am. Buying stuff, I throw it. I mean, depending on what it is, I use it right away. And then I always have extra because I always buy too much. And then I throw it in the stash and find it years later going, wonder where I got that from. Wonder what I bought it for. What was it used for? Sometimes I remember. I've got some fabrics that I know exactly what they were purchased for. All right, this is just filtered water. I use filtered water, not regular tap water, because I have found that my tap water is not wonderful, and then it messes up my iron. I do have a silicone, whichever term it, cover on my iron. So, and I do have I have cleaning stuff, a cleaning kit somewhere. Yeah, there it is. I have a whole cleaning kit for my iron. I just prefer not to have to clean them if I don't have to. So the easiest way to avoid that is to use filtered water and have a secondary mat on here so that it stays clean. And you'll notice I do have spray starch and Best Press behind me. Couldn't remember the name of the stuff. And I do use those also. It's just in this case I don't need to. I just want to get this fabric nice and flat so that I can cut it to length. Leave the center seam because I want the center seam. I'm going to need that in a minute. Okay, there we go. Now, fold it in half and let's look. if you notice, this has already been lined up on the torn edge. Oops, you can't see it. It's been already been lined up on the torn edge. I did that before I put it into my storage bin. So that's why I said I only needed a 1/2 inch. I'm just going to trim off the torn edges to get my piece, my 20 inches. All right. So there we go. Actually, now that I think about it, I need it to stay folded. After all that pressing, I was wrong. All right. Because I don't have a ruler wide enough to do 20 inches. So we've got to use the short ruler. And I just knocked stuff over. All right, you go right there. Stay. Okay, so let's trim. Line up on the folded edge. Get as close as you can. In this case, dang it. In this case, the top has less fabric on it. So we cut off the edge. And then we take our second ruler and our first ruler and slide them together until we get to 20 inches. Trim off the little bit there. Okay. And the length is 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16 inches. Yep, and that makes perfect sense. So now from the center fold, we're going to line it up on the edge here, just like we've done with other things. Smooth everybody out so we're nice and flat and straight. So we are not cutting the edge with the fold. We're leaving the fold over here. That stays there. This is the side that has the selvage. So this side has the selvage. We are going to measure from there over here to 16 inches on our cutting board. Take our rotary cutter, and we now have a piece that's 20 inches wide by 32 inches long. There we go. And it is piece number, or piece letter B. Where's my B? There's my B. All right, so we have our first piece of our lining cut. We have our two outside and our two pieces for the utility pocket. Lining fabric, check. All right, so in part 3, we are going to start with cutting the zipper pouch fabric and the accessory pocket, zipper accessory pocket, yeah, however, whatever. So we're going to do that next. That'll be part 3, and after that we'll just start going through the steps to complete the bag. So Appreciate you watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, thumbs up, follow, remind, whatever you need to do to come visit me. And we will do another live video tomorrow. You all have a great day.